Today, we have an opportunity to learn from a seasoned professional in the investment banking industry. Mr. Wayne Nielsen is the president and managing director of W.G. Nielsen and Company. He has more than 30 years of investment banking experience. Since 1996, he has specialized in providing customized attention to mergers and acquisitions of privately held middle market companies. Prior to founding W.G. Nielsen, Mr. Nielsen was executive vice president at Kirkpatrick Pettis, a subsidiary of Mutual of Omaha, where he founded and managed Kirkpatrick Pettis's Rocky Mountain investment banking operation. These operations included corporate and public finance, retail and institutional sales, all trading activities, and money management services. Prior to Kirkpatrick Pettis, Mr. Nielsen managed United Bank of Denver's investment banking activities, which included public and corporate finance, institutional sales, all trading activities, and money management services. Mr. Nielsen began his financial experience as a commercial loan analyst at Midland Bank, a Norwest Bank in Minneapolis. And then with Northwestern National Life Insurance Company, also in Minneapolis. While employed with Northwestern National Life Insurance Company, Mr. Nielsen was a portfolio analyst that purchased investments for its portfolio. He holds a BA in communication from Pacific Union College and a master's in business administration from Weber University. So welcome, Mr. Nielsen.
Scott, thank you. I think we're done. You've said it all.
Well, thank you for your willingness to share your expert advice with our viewers. Our goal is, of course, to provide young adults with information that are either exploring various careers or are ready to jumpstart a career. And today's jumpstart a career specifically in investment banking. So, Wayne, would you please tell us about your own career path and what's helped you to become so successful in your career?
Well, probably my most interesting spot along that journey was working for Northwestern National Life. And I worked directly for John Pillsbury Jr., the owner and founder of not only Northwestern National Life, but also the Pillsbury companies generationally. He uniquely hired three of us that were in our 20s at the time. And those three of us were charged with investing $8 million a week. And we had to invest it because they have that much cash flow and they're building an annuity stream. Candidly, watching that investment cycle and the great wisdom that John Pillsbury Jr. had, and watching all the unique sectors that he would have us invest in, I became convinced that I always wanted to maintain and be in the investment banking world and the investment world. John was one of those straw hat, blue tie, bow tie guys that really cared about his people and also had a bucket full of money to invest, which was amazing as a young person. What made us successful? Scott, who knows? If there's a bottom line to any of this, it's that we all work our tails off.
Yeah, the harder you work, the luckier you get, right?
Why isn't that the truth? And willing to take some risk. Risk is part of the equation, but it's a calculated risk. And with hard work, 99% of the time it should work.
So Wayne, has your career always been a rocket ship to the moon, or have you had to overcome difficulties in your career?
Oh no, there's always challenges in any path. My first challenge was probably a unique thing to say, Scott. I assumed I would never work. I'd invested as a child at 11, and that modest investment of $1,100 I had grown to at that time to a staggering amount of money. I continued to invest during college and using the same strategy I'd used when I was 11 or 12. And that strategy stopped working. and I lost the vast majority of that corpus. So I was one of those unusual kids that just followed what I was interested in college. I never thought I would work. And then I found myself as a senior in college realizing, no, this investment strategy did not work. And I was going to need to work, and continued and always wanted to be in the investment world. That's where my heart was from a very young age. And that's what I wanted to do.
That's terrific. So how well do you believe that your formal education prepared you for a career in investment banking?
Probably very little is the candid truth, with the exception of we learn the language of finance, and that language of finance is key. But the reality is, at least for me, and it's probably different for every person, but when Norwest Bank hired me, they put me in a 2-year training program. I didn't have a phone. I couldn't talk to anyone. And all I did was analyze financial statements for 2 years. And for those of us that are maybe a touch social, that was a bit challenging, Scott. But it was absolutely the right thing to do. And my professional training, certainly the educational background allows you to get to that professional training, but the professional training far outweighs, in my circumstance, my educational background.
Certainly. So can you tell me, for someone that's interested in a career in investment banking, what certifications or advanced learning is helpful in your career?
Yeah, well, it's unusual. This world has changed, and we're interviewing for analysts right now. And the reality is, those that are in college doing well in finance, doing well in an associated activity or in grad school, certainly, if they haven't had summer internships in the field and had the opportunity to really know a bit about our trade, those kids, no matter how highly qualified, really are not being considered by our firm, and I understand many other firms. So I think almost as important in today's world, Scott, is what these smart, aggressive, dynamic young people are doing for their summer internships. And that follows into grad school, certainly.
Sure. Sure. I know how important that is. What do you believe, Wayne, are the characteristics of successful individuals in the investment banking world?
I wish I knew definitively, because then I would never hire a mistake. But having said that, I think one of the common denominators, people need to be an optimist in this business. And one of the questions that we always ask people, do you feel that your life has been charmed? And if the response is no, that their life has been challenging, is discriminatory as that may sound, we do not hire that person. One has to be an optimist. We play for long-term goals and objectives. Many of our clients take many years to land and to get concluded in a proper format. And one needs to be patient, but optimistic that it's going to occur.
So Wayne, what trends do you believe are really impacting the world of investment banking now and the future of investment banking?
Well, remember, my world is M&A, and so I'll speak to the M&A world. Investment banking is a large bucket.
Sure.
But in M&A right now, there's two things, of course, and you know both of them well. Number one, interest rates. The assumption is that if interest rates increase, that values of existing businesses will go down because if they are sold, typically leverage is used at some magnitude, and the cost of that capital increases, valuation changes. So that's certainly one. The other would be taxation. The view is, be it right or be it wrong, that capital gains may change. And if capital gains changes, certainly that could change valuations as well.
Sure.
Those are our two big headwinds right now.
So besides getting an internship in the investment banking world to help prepare you for a career in investment banking, is there any other advice that you would give to a young person about successfully jumpstarting a career?
Yep, no, that's a good point. Well, certainly education does matter. We don't hire people that are not college educated. We rarely hire someone that doesn't have a postgraduate degree in our world. Having said that, the tip of the arrow, if you're hiring an analyst, certainly we want to see accounting, we want to see finance, we want to see modeling, we want to see success in those areas, not only demonstrated educationally, but also in their summer internships. However, if we're really thinking we have the potential for a candidate that may eventually become a managing partner or managing director of a firm, you like to see a more well-rounded person, a person that may have an undergraduate degree in psychology, or is diverse is in literature, or is diverse is in philosophy, that also has a finance degree and or some related finance degree, but had a minor or potentially a major in that other area as well. Those unique groups of folks that can integrate analytics as well as with human psychology and views of the world have the opportunity of becoming managing directors. If you will, a CPA, solely a CPA and a CPA personality, and I use that specifically, most likely never becomes a managing director if that's his or her unique personality set.
So what does the career path look for an individual? So they've just graduated, maybe they have their BS or an advanced degree, but what does that career path look like for them?
That's pretty straightforward in our business. There is a direct ladder. You start as an analyst, and the analyst is working on spreading financial statements and looking at the financial matrix for that business and trying to help us with valuations. That person could also help us with some pitch decks, could also help us with some basic presentation materials from time to time. When you graduate from an analyst, you can become an associate. An associate is going to have a little more interaction with a client. From that table, you normally have the pleasure of going to an AVP or a VP world where you get more interactive time with a client. The managing directors are analyzing not only that person's analytical skills, but do you feel comfortable in putting that person in front of a client? We've had some huge fails in that regard. And just a brief story, we had one analyst, ungodly bright, was looking at a model, and it was a very aggressive model that was a hockey puck. And the person and our analyst looked at our potential client straight in the face and said, how the blank will you get from here to there? Because he had torn apart the financials 10 ways from Sunday and just saw no analytical path and had no idea that that statement was so harmful and so hurtful to the heart of the entrepreneur. It was hard to back up from that comment.
Sure. So someone that's interested in a career, financial services, investment banking, M&A, are there any websites or books that you would recommend to, I mean, if they're interested in doing further research into a career in this field and how to be good, what would you recommend?
Great question, and you will not like the answer. There are very few classes, quote unquote, in investment banking, either undergraduate or graduate level. There is one large bulge bracket firm that brags they've never, ever advertised for an analyst. If you don't have the courage to knock on the door, they don't want to hire you. Many of the regional firms have that same attitude. And candidly, even a regional boutique like ourselves, we do see the motivated young people sending us resumes, telling us why they should be a summer intern, telling us why they should be interviewed for an analyst. One has to be aggressive and ballsy, and I use that term intentionally, in this business. If you're not, you're most likely not suited for this industry.
So let me make sure I've got this right. So I send you my resume and I send you a cover letter and I say, Mr. Nielsen, I believe I would be a great analyst and would like to work for your company. Then I go home and sit by the phone and wait for that phone to ring. Is that going to happen? Is that job going to happen? Or
Well, and of course, Scott, you're baiting me. No, no, it doesn't. You need to make the phone call as well and reach out. But as bizarre as it sounds, we take those emails seriously. We do have a person that screens them for us, and we will anticipate a phone call coming in. But even if that phone call doesn't come in, we do reach out, and many of the firms do that. But it's a huge positive that if someone also has the courage, because it takes courage, to call, ask to talk to the managing director. If you can get this through the secretaries, if you can get through the screens that we all put up in this business, that goes a long way as well.
Sure. So I imagine having someone introduce that young adult to that managing director, someone like yourself, that would be very helpful. So
more than a little. That is, there's been tons of research on this, as you can imagine, and it's way over 50% in our world is introduced by someone. Our last summer's intern, and we're actively in that view right now, came from a client, and the client said, "You won't believe this, but I have a niece that is a slam dunk, ungodly bright female. She's a major in finance. She's a junior. She'll work for free." We don't do that. We pay our analysts, but would love to have a shot to interview. And normally I think, yeah, right. But I made the call and interviewed her, and he was awfully right. And
Sure.
We were extremely impressed with her. It's over 50% comes through all shops that way.
Right. And that, of course, is a goal of the Young Professionals Career Engagement Program, is to help make those introductions. So Wayne, is there any other career advice that you would give to a young adult that's exploring a career in investment banking or is ready to jumpstart that career?
Well, remembering that investment banking, wide bucket, many different personality sets within those various venues of investment banking, but in M&A, I think the advice I would give is that if you're thinking of an M&A route, be prepared for an unusual work environment. Some days are full of nothing but boredom, because your phone's not ringing. You can't think of anyone to call. But 9 times out of 10, you're being inundated on projects you're involved in. 9 times out of 10, you're taking a late night call or making a late night email. And if you and your family aren't prepared for those timeline interruptions, and they can be brutal, this isn't a business for you.
Sure.
There's other venues within investment banking that'd be far more suited. But if we have Mr. Family Entrepreneur that's selling, in our case, we sell a lot of automotive dealerships, as you know, and he's selling 10 dealerships and trying to generate a couple $100 million of cash, be assured he's not looking at his Mickey Mouse watch and saying, "I shouldn't call Wayne this late." If he has an idea, he's calling.
That's great. So Wayne, as the founder of a regional M&A firm, I'm sure you're very, very busy. Tell me, how many times in your career do you feel like you've been caught up and you can put your feet on the desk and say you're there?
Never. I don't think I've ever been in that position and never felt comfortable. And my least uncomfortable times, and this is probably a funny thing to admit, but is when you're on vacation. When you're away, and specifically if you don't have cell phone coverage, it's really tough.
Mm-hmm.
You're scared to death that one of your deals, someone saying something to someone, an analyst on the East Coast is making a pitch about your specific business you're trying to sell, that you no longer control or have the ability to control. That's your worst day of your life.
So having said that, can an individual in M&A have a balanced life?
No, balance is not the right word. Specifically, if you work on the coasts. If you work on the East Coast and through most of your career, the vast majority of your career, you are what we like to call fluorescent light bulb people, meaning you won't see much sunshine. Having said that, the boutiques in the Midwest, and certainly in the few of us in Colorado, try to have more of a work-life balance. There's no question, but and we all try to be respectful, and we all know that we need to have for mental health, if nothing else, and to keep a healthy relationship at home, you need to have time at home. But those that want to work and want to be rewarded for work, there's a reason why M&A and investment banking people are paid highly, beyond surgeons and beyond most of the other professions. There's trade-offs, and if that trade-off you don't want to participate in, this isn't the road for you.
Sure, sure. Well, as you know, I've got family that's in private equity now, so we're very aware of trade-offs that have to occur. But so Wayne, I want to thank you for your time today. We sincerely appreciate your time that you've taken to offer career building advice to young adults that are interested in a career in investment banking. So to wrap up this video, I'd like to remind our viewers that if they're interested in exploring a career, they can either reach out to a professional on their own to schedule an informational interview, or they can ask for an introduction to that professional from someone else, someone that they trust. To prepare for those informational interviews, we recommend that you watch the video on this website titled Conducting Informational Interviews. So again, thank you very much, Wayne, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, Scott, and I appreciate the opportunity. Well done.